Hey guys, I'm Dana from Dana Disagrees, and have you ever tried to reason with a completely pissed off and hormonal woman, and no matter what kind of facts and logic you present her with, it doesn't get you anywhere and you can't possibly ever win? Well, that's because you're using facts and logic, and women don't run on that. Women run on emotion. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to break down how to reason with a pissed off hormonal woman and actually win. Because typically your facts and logic can't win, but we're gonna break down how you can actually win in these kinds of circumstances. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go through all of that today. We're gonna go through why all of this happens. We're gonna go through women's emotions and hormones and how they connect to each other, and then give you the tools that you need so you can actually win in the end. So what I'm gonna do first, because you gotta hang around to the end, what I'm gonna do first is we're gonna go through all the things that you need to do, and at the end we're gonna break down 3 things that you absolutely should not do unless you wanna add more chaos to the fire, okay? All right, let's get into it. So, why logic doesn't work on an emotional woman. Let's look at what we have here. Okay, like I said, men are governed by logic and women are governed by emotion. And this isn't an insult to women. This is just how we are. This is just how men are wired, and this is how women are wired. We're just biologically different, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just have to work to understand and be able to appreciate each other and know how to approach each other. Men, you guys, you are all solution oriented, right? You guys are more like, hey, tell me your problem and I'm going to fix it. You are excellent problem solvers. Women we're not quite the same way. We're a little more experience oriented. We look toward our feelings a little bit more. We say things like, well, I feel this way, so this is my reality. And men can't always quite understand that because it may not be reality the way that she feels, but this is how a woman's mind actually works. Now, when she is upset, and if you say something like, well, that's not true because, or this isn't right because, X, Y, or Z, you're actually trying to overwrite her emotion with your facts and logic. And that's not going to work. You might as well just put gasoline on a fire, because that's all that's really going to end up happening is she's just going to blow up even further. It's just not quite the right way to approach it, even though your facts and logic probably make sense and maybe her emotions don't. So instead of making her feel better, what you're actually doing when you're saying, well, that's not true because, and you're trying to hit her with all this logic, all that's doing is making her feel unheard or dismissed. And you're not going to be able to get through to her in that way with your facts and logic, okay? So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. We're going to look at hormones for men and for women. So we're going to walk through what a male cycle looks like, and we're also going to walk through what a female cycle looks like, because as we know, men and women, we have very different hormones. We have the same, hormones. We have very different levels of hormones, and that is very important to be able to understand how women's emotions work and in what week they are of their cycle and what that all means for you and what that looks like for you to ultimately be able to win with your facts and logic, because that's the whole point of today. The point of today is giving you the tools that you need so that you can be able to present your case to her in a way that will paint you in the good light and ultimately help her see things in your way. So first, let's do the man's cycle. So next slide. The man's cycle is super easy. That's why we're doing it first. Your kids, until you hit about puberty, right, in your teenage years, and then your testosterone goes up, and it stays there. And that's it. That's the end of the story. You are in the man zone for the rest of your life, and you want sex all the time. That's just, the man cycle is super easy. There's not a lot to say about it. That's why I'm doing that one first. But let's look at the female cycle, because that is a little bit more complex for us to go through. Because as you can see, we got lines going up and down. We got lines here. We got like all these crisscrosses and all these things. It's like a woman's brain. We're all wired, so differently, and our emotions are all chaotic. Well, look at this cycle. That's probably why. So let's break down just the basics of what the female cycle looks like, because here's the thing that you really need to know. You might be with one woman, but you are actually with 4 different women, because we are different every week of the month. So let's look at every week and just talk about it for a hot second. So week 1, right here. week 1, days 1 through 7, this is when she has her cycle. This is when she has her period, otherwise known as blowjob week. And we can make all the jokes about that we want. And yes, should a woman give her man a blowjob during blowjob week? Yes, absolutely. I stand by that. I have so much content behind it. But this is for you guys, and I want you to understand that when she is in week 1 and when she has her period, she also really is, she wants to connect with you. She wants to cuddle with you. She wants to maybe sit and watch a movie or, do something fun. And it's important for you to pay attention and do that during that first week with her. Okay, so just because she's bleeding, that doesn't mean that you say ew and you say get away. You actually want to embrace that time and really connect and care for her because this is the very, very, very important, probably the most important thing in this video that you might need to listen to, because in week 2, days 7 through 14, this is where her libido goes up. So if you are nice to her in week 1 and you are very caring and you connect with her emotionally, you're gonna have a really excellent week 2. In week 2 is when her libido is higher. Okay, women are programmed to have babies, right? At the end of week 2, you can see in here, this is when a woman ovulates. So this is when she can get pregnant. And biologically, we are programmed to want to have babies, which is why we want to have more sex, why our libidos are higher in that second week. It's because we want our bodies to get pregnant. Our bodies are programmed to get pregnant and procreate. That's why her libido is higher during this week. And so it would be very advantageous for you to pay attention to where your woman is in her cycle so that you know when this week 2 comes, because this is the good week for you, all right? Okay, that's your favorite part. I know that's your favorite part, but let's look at the 3rd week. Now, the 3rd week of a woman's cycle, she's a little more mellow. She might have some mood swings, and she's going to be a little extra sensitive to stress during this week. So if she's living a high stress life, or if she has a lot of stress going on in her personal life or her work life, she's going to be a little extra sensitive to that. And that stress, especially if there's a lot, that can really affect her hormones, okay? Because then when we look at week 4, way over here, what we see in week 4 is we don't always know what we're gonna get. You could get one of 2 things. Now, if she is taking care of herself, if she's taking care of her hormones, if they're at appropriate levels, you could get an extra bonus sex week. That could be similar to what your week 2 looks like. You could get a bonus week over there. But if her hormones aren't at appropriate levels, you could be looking at more of the heavier mood swings, the PMS, more of the raginess, okay? That stuff is all common, but it's definitely not normal, right? Because do you notice how I'm saying if she's not taking care of herself, then she might end up a little ragey in that 4th week? We don't want that to happen. We want women to be taking care of their health and taking care of their hormones, because do you only want one good sex week in a month, or do you want the possibility of having 2 really good sex weeks in a month? You probably want 2. So paying attention to where she is in her cycle and also supporting her health is very important for all of you, okay? And to understand all of that. Now, I can't stress this enough. She's not crazy. She's just hormonal, and this is just part of how we are all designed. But I wanted to go through this because I think it's important for all of you to understand these weeks, just the basics of these weeks, because then it helps you really predict her behavior. And inside the men's course that I am developing, we're going to dive into this even a little bit more to give you tools for what you can be doing each one of these weeks to be able to support her. I never, in the weeks where she's maybe not quite on, we never want to tolerate bad behavior, but we want to give you guys the tools that you need so that you know how to support her and you can kind of just stay ahead of the game and you always know what's coming. All right? All right. So next we're going to go through, how are you actually going to get through to her? Now that we understand the cycle, now that we understand emotion versus facts and logic, how are you actually going to get through to her? Okay, I have 3 pieces here. We're not going to fight emotion with logic, okay? If she is crying or if she's mad, logic will absolutely not work. It's just gonna fan the flame and make it worse. What you need to actually do is to acknowledge her feeling. Now, I'm saying acknowledge her feeling. I'm not saying you have to say that she's right, you have to take her side. You acknowledge the feeling. So instead of saying, well, that's not what I said, try saying something like, I can tell you're upset. Please help me understand what's making you feel that way. Right? You don't need to take her side. You don't need to tell her that she's right, but acknowledging the way that she feels and asking her to explain it will be very helpful for you guys. Because the second part here is that we need to create emotional safety for her. Women need to feel safe before they can think logically. Women are capable of thinking logically, but we have to feel emotionally safe before we are willing to do that. Otherwise, our emotions just take forward. So this is why calming her down first, it's better than just hammering her with a bunch of logic. Now, I do not want you to be her therapist. That's not what she needs in her life. She needs you to be a man, but you have to show that you care before you are trying to correct her. Otherwise, it probably won't work. Now, how are you going to do this? So this can be done by when she's talking. I want you to keep a straight face or nod along. Don't roll your eyes. Don't laugh. Don't be checking your phone. Pay attention to what she's saying and do your best to pay attention to what she's saying, because we know how women are, and women like to tell stories and ramble on, and we're not always clear and concise, okay? We're not. It's not how we're wired. So I want you to work as hard as you can while she's explaining herself to pay as close of attention as you can. Now, after she has gotten that all out and after she is a little bit calmer, then you can start to present your logic. Now, once she's had her emotional release, then she's open to it. So what you can say here is, I understand why that's upset or why that upset you. Do you want to talk about how we can fix it, or do you want to talk about a solution for this? And at that point, it's probably honestly 50-50. She might say yes, and then she's open to what you're going to say. But there are definitely some times where she might say no, and she just wanted to be listened to, and she can go on with her day, and all she wanted was to feel safe and acknowledged and just to have you listen for a little while, because women are women, and this is just how we operate sometimes. The point of today is teaching you how you can get through to her using your logic, but then understand sometimes at the end of the day, she just maybe wanted you to listen for a little while. Okay, as promised at the end, here we got to go through some things that you don't want to do in these situations. I do not ever want you to match her emotion, because if she is yelling, and then you yell, and if she's emotional and then you start getting emotional, well, you're just another woman at the end of the day, and nothing's really going to end up getting solved. You need to be the rock, okay? You ever see one of those big rocks like out in the ocean and the waves crash on it? No matter how hard the waves crash on the rock still stands there. The rock is sturdy. You guys are the rock, and no matter how much she crashes on you, you stand there and you stand very firm. That helps her with that emotional safety. Never, ever, ever tell her that her feelings are wrong, even if they are completely ridiculous and they don't make any sense and they are not logical. Don't tell her that her feelings are wrong, because if you say, well, you're just being emotional or you don't understand, it's just going to spiral her into a whole lot more emotion, and then you're going to be in a worse place than what you were before. Also, do not try to fix the problem before she's ready. Men are excellent problem solvers. I will say that till I'm blue in the face, but there comes a time where maybe you just need to pause on the problem solving for just a minute, because if she is venting and then you jump into some solutions, she's going to think that you're not listening, okay? Now, there's a flip side to this, okay? I made sure I made note of this so I could talk about this, because I'm talking to you guys and I'm talking to men today. I want you to know that there is a flip side to this, and I do talk to women about this, because at the end of the day, you need to understand that women don't always want you to fix their problems, right? But on the flip side, women need to understand that if they go to a man with a problem, or if they go to him venting, he's going to solve the problem. And so if all they want is to talk and be listened to, they should probably go talk to their female friends. That makes sense, right? Both of us need to be able to understand each other, to know what's going on inside of each other's brains. But this is for you guys today, so just understand she may not want you to fix the problem. And I promise to tell her that if you go to him, he's going to fix the problem. We all need to understand each other a little bit better. All right, go ahead. So our key takeaway today is you can't reason with a woman who is deep in her emotion with just your logic alone, okay? You got to go through a couple steps. If you meet her where she's at first, right, help me understand, then you can get her to calm down, and then she's much more able to use facts and logic to be able to see reality. That is your key takeaway. It's hard to master, and it's going to take some reps and going over and over again, but I know that you guys can do it, all right? And that's why I'm making content like this. I want to be able to help you learn how to navigate yourself, but also navigate your relationships. Now, Last slide here. So where do we follow? Do you like content like this? Do you want me to make more content like this? Please be following me at Dana Disagrees. I'm Dana Disagrees on all platforms, regardless of where you go and look. And please also sign up for my email list. If you go to my Instagram and my TikTok, if you go to the bio, you can sign up for my email list. And there I provide extra content inside of my email. And then you find out when extra fun things are dropping, like my course that I have coming this spring. I'm in the process right now of putting together a men's course that is tailored for you guys, that takes you through several modules that help you not only master yourself, but also master women and relationships. We're going to be talking about the 3 M's. We're going to be talking about mind, muscle, and money. And then we're going to also be talking about what's attractive to a woman, and then also building a legacy for yourself. So watch out for that. Sign up for email. Make sure you're following me everywhere you go, and we will see you on the next one.